Imagine an event that changed the course of human history forever, not just because of its scale, but because of the devastating consequences it brought. What if I told you that the Tower of Babel isn't just some old story, but a lesson that still shapes our world today? In this video, you'll uncover hidden secrets about this mythical structure, understand how it influenced the world we live in, and more importantly, how those lessons can impact your life today. Have you ever felt frustrated because you couldn't communicate properly or had projects that fell apart? This story might have more to do with you than you think. Stick around until the end, and you'll see how the past might hold surprising solutions to today's challenges. The Tower of Babel, a mystery that transcends time, sparks curiosity because it's not directly mentioned in the Old Testament. Although the term Tower of Babel became popular over the centuries, it's not specifically named in the sacred scriptures. However, the mention of the city of Babel carries significant weight for scholars, leaving room for deep interpretations. Imagine reading the original text and realizing that this imposing tower, which left its mark on humanity, only got its name through cultural interpretations. This makes us wonder, how much of the history we know is shaped by voices throughout time? As we dig into this story, we see that the construction of the tower is surrounded by mystery. How did such a monumental structure emerge without the modern tools we know today? The lack of a clear reference to the Tower of Babel in the Old Testament reveals something intriguing. The narratives that endure are often those that grow in collective imagination. The tower, a symbol of a society that dared to challenge the heavens, provokes deep reflections. It's not just a physical monument, but a metaphorical construction of human aspirations. For many, the Tower of Babel represents one of the earliest displays of human power pushing the boundaries. It's something we see even today, whether it's the space race or technological innovations. Humanity always tries to reach for something that seems out of reach. It's like each step in history is an echo of ancient Babel, where the desire to transcend earthly limitations was already present. And today, how many towers are being built, both physical and mental? Thinking of the Tower of Babel as just a biblical episode limits its importance. In reality, it's a symbol of the attempt to centralize power and knowledge. Deep down, every society seeks something greater, a unity that transcends barriers. But this path isn't always clear. When we mention Babel, we open the door to reflect on future challenges, which often repeat the mistakes of the past, as we'll see in the historical context that follows. The foundation of Babel dates back to the time when Nimrod, the great-grandson of Noah, decided to build a grand city right after the Great Flood. This city wasn't just a collection of houses or walls, but a symbol of resistance and unity. What's interesting is that, despite the divine command for people to spread across the earth, human desire went in the opposite direction. They wanted to stay together in one place. It's fascinating how this behavior reflects the eternal human need for control and stability. Imagine a freshly cleansed world, where the command was to disperse, but the temptation to stick close to what's familiar won out. Nimrod, a mighty hunter and charismatic leader, embodies this desire for centralization. He didn't just lead people in building a city, but in creating a new way of life. Babel wasn't just a refuge, but a symbol of rebellion. It makes us reflect on how leadership, both in the past and today, shapes the paths societies take. Even now, many leaders in various fields repeat this cycle of building empires that challenge established orders, whether in religious, political, or social realms. The historical context of Babel is marked by the attempt to consolidate power and, at the same time, avoid the unknown. There was a fear that by spreading out across the world, people would lose their identity. This reminds us of how, during moments of transition in history, societies cling to what's familiar, often resisting changes brought on by external forces. What would be more natural, obeying the divine command and exploring the unknown, or following in Nimrod's footsteps and finding security in the familiar? This tension between humanity's desire to control its destiny and the divine order to explore new horizons continues to echo in many of the decisions we make today. The founding of Babel was just the beginning of a series of events that led to the construction of the famous tower, using materials and techniques that still impress us today. Which brings us to the next point, where the details of the construction reveal even more about the ingenuity and determination of the people of Babel. The construction of the Tower of Babel is one of the most intriguing aspects of the story, both for its scale and the ingenuity of the materials used. Imagine a time when clay bricks and bitumen, a type of tar, were the main resources for building such a massive structure. These materials were not only readily available, but also quite durable, which was vital for a project that aimed to reach the heavens. Interestingly, this technique is similar to the Mesopotamian ziggurats, pyramid-shaped structures that served as temples. The people of Babel's ability to make the most of what they had shows an adaptive intelligence that we still see today in many areas of modern construction. When we talk about the tower, it's important to note that it wasn't just a physical building but also an expression of power and technological progress. The rudimentary tools of the time and the creative use of materials reflect the human desire to overcome environmental limitations. Today, it's like building skyscrapers with the most advanced resources available, or even striving for more eco-friendly and efficient technologies. The construction of the tower shows how willing humanity is to innovate when trying to achieve something that seems impossible. The organization of this project was undoubtedly impressive. Thousands of people working with a single goal in mind, without the technology we have today to ease communication or logistics. However, the people of Babel's willpower and unity made up for these limitations. In a world where boundaries were still limited to the human eye, they managed to design something that symbolically crossed the line of what was known. This coordinated and ambitious effort can be compared to humanity's great works, like the pyramids of Egypt or, in modern times, the International Space Station. Reflecting on the construction of the tower, it's clear that the challenge was more than just technical. The desire to build something that transcended physical reality carried a deeper message of resistance and, in a way, disobedience. And this brings us to the next point, the symbolism behind the tower and what it represented in the narrative of humanity. The Tower of Babel carries a deep symbolism that goes beyond its architectural grandeur. It represents the moment when humanity, united, tried to defy divine plans. The tower, with its colossal height, was the ultimate symbol of human ambition to reach the heavens and in some way rival God. This act of disobedience was more than just a building project. It was a collective declaration of independence, an attempt to control their destiny without divine guidance. How many times throughout history have we seen this same attitude? Groups or nations seeking to challenge the limits imposed on them, whether by traditions, laws, or even nature. The desire to build a tower that touched the sky also reflects an attempt to centralize power. By uniting in a common project, people believed they could achieve the impossible, establishing a new world order. It's interesting how this symbolism still resonates today, with leaders and organizations trying to create structures, whether physical or social, that challenge established norms. This can be seen, for example, in the race for emerging technologies, or the attempt to create economic superpowers that dominate the world. But the tower wasn't just a physical structure, it was also a metaphor for technological advancement. The people of Babel wanted to unite and progress, and this tower represented their desire to reach a level of development that would set them apart from the rest of creation. However, there was a problem. This progress wasn't accompanied by humility or respect for the limits set by God. They wanted to go beyond without considering the consequences of their actions. This is something we can still see today in various fields, where scientific or technological progress often outpaces our ability to understand its ethical or spiritual implications. The tower, therefore, symbolizes the duality of human nature, the relentless pursuit of progress and, at the same time, the tendency to ignore warnings about the dangers of that advancement. It's in this context that divine judgment comes into play, reminding everyone that there are limits that shouldn't be crossed, and disobedience to natural and divine orders comes with consequences. This leads us directly to the next point, where God's judgment not only halted the project, but forever changed the way humans interact with each other. God's judgment on the Tower of Babel was one of the most impactful episodes in biblical history. In response to humanity's audacity, God decided to intervene in a decisive way, confusing the languages of those involved in the construction. Up until that point, everyone spoke a single language, which made coordination and progress easy. But with the introduction of multiple languages, communication became impossible. Chaos took over, and just like that, the dream of building a tower that reached the heavens was shattered. This linguistic diversity wasn't just a punishment, it was a turning point that shaped human history from that moment on. The divine judgment also highlighted the fragility of human effort when compared to divine will. Even with all their knowledge and organization, all it took was a single act from God for the grandest project of that time to crumble. It's interesting to see how this event mirrors our current reality. Many times humans pour all their resources into ambitious projects, but something beyond their control can completely change the course of events. The COVID-19 pandemic, for example, brought the world to a standstill, showing that no matter how advanced we are, there are greater forces that remind us of our vulnerability. This divine intervention forced the people of Babel to scatter across the earth. Their plan to stay united in one city was thwarted, and what was once a symbol of unity became the start of different cultures and nations. In a way, God's action not only stopped the construction of the tower, but also paved the way for the rich cultural and linguistic diversity we see today. Each language carries its own history, its own unique perspective, and this event marks the beginning of that diversity. Humanity, once united by a common language, was now destined to spread out and divide into different peoples and cultures. This divine judgment makes it clear that there are limits to human ambition, and trying to surpass them can have lasting consequences. The story of the Tower of Babel is an eternal reminder that unity must be achieved with humility, respect, and obedience to what is greater than us. And with that, we reflect on the impact this dispersion had on the world and how it shaped the societies that followed. This event not only marks the beginning of linguistic diversity, but also ushers in a new era of challenges for humanity. After diving into the secrets of the Tower of Babel, you start to realize how these events shaped history, and possibly even your own journey. But if you thought the revelation stopped here, just wait until you discover the hidden mystery behind angels. Who are they really? And what role do they play in biblical stories in your life? If you're ready to uncover more secrets, click on the next video and get ready to explore a whole new side of these enigmatic figures. And of course, don't forget to drop a comment about what you've learned today. Let's continue this journey together.